She-Hulk Attorney-at-Law may have the worst finale that has ever been allowed to air. There's absolutely no stakes, the quote-unquote comedy hurts the episode rather than enhancing it, and the payoffs are much like your first time. Rushed, disappointing, and leaves your butt hurting for about a week.
Yo!
The show as a whole actually perfectly embodies everything that is wrong with Phase 4 of the MCU. However, to understand why this finale makes me want to swan dive off of a parking garage, you're gonna need some context of the build-up, because a lot of this show is proof that humans can go backwards in evolution. She-Hulk Attorney-at-Law follows the character of Jennifer Walters, a lawyer who is also the cousin of Bruce Banner. After getting Bruce's blood in her system because of an alien drive-by, she gains the powers of a Hulk. And already we have run into our first problem. From the jump, She-Hulk's power level is very unclear, especially as it pertains to the Hulk. She seems to have the same level of strength, even with some instances of being stronger. Plus, remember how it took over a decade for Bruce to control and find a balance with the Hulk inside him? Well, Jen actually has perfect control over her transformation, meaning she has all the power with none of the drawbacks. Real interesting character you got here. At first, I thought they were going to go the route of her being weaker than Bruce, but with her having that balance from the get-go. It would have at least helped to distinguish She-Hulk from her male counterpart a little bit more. However, by having both, not only have you made Jen a much less interesting character, but it also makes the audience question why Jen has been the only Hulk that has control out the gate. Personally, I thought it was because of her female biology. But in the finale, we see that a man who uses She-Hulk's blood to turn himself into a Hulk, don't worry, we'll get to that dumpster fire later, seems to also be in some kind of control. This seems to imply that it's specifically Jen's blood that grants her the ability to be in control. So, what you're telling me is that Jen just so happens to have the genetic cheat code that gives you Hulk powers without having to worry about the constant need for control. Damn, that sure is a cosmic coincidence now, isn't it? Anyway, after Bruce finds out that his blood has turned Jen into a Hulk, he becomes adamant to help her through this. Now, this is actually a very accurate portrayal of Bruce, as he wouldn't want someone to go through the same pain that—
It feels like if I don't transform, I'm gonna die. You have a plan B for that?
No.
Jesus! Yeah, while Bruce is only prominently shown in one episode, those 30-ish minutes somehow still manage to do some decent damage to his character. This comes down to two moments, with the first one being this death trap that I just showed y'all. For context, Bruce here is trying to test Jen's limits to see what triggers her transformation into She-Hulk. Now, rather than gradually scaling up to see what the minimum requirements are that would cause a transformation, instead, Bruce decides to immediately throw her into the literal meat grinder. This is the equivalent of a doctor checking your reflexes with a Glock. Like, what the hell, Bruce? Remember, this guy's intelligence is on par with Tony Stark's. But that is just the appetizer to the main course of crap, being these scenes.
We have to make sure of your ability to tolerate distress and regulate your emotions, especially your anger.
Here's the thing, Bruce. I'm great at controlling my anger. I do it all the time. When I'm catcalled in the street, when incompetent men explain my own area of expertise to me, I'm an expert at controlling my anger because I do it infinitely more than you.
Okay, for one, this scene about controlling your anger was a huge missed opportunity to have Bruce reflect on his time as the Hulk. Remember, Marvel still can't make a standalone Hulk movie, so every time this man is on screen, he should be written with respect. Bruce could have told her that for a while he thought he was in control of his anger, but he soon realized that he was just suppressing it, and when he couldn't hold it in anymore, the explosion was disastrous. As a Hulk, it's their job to understand the difference. Instead, we just let Bruce take a verbal lashing without imparting any wisdom onto Jen. Actually, wait a minute, isn't the Hulk's transformation triggered by just general stress rather than just anger? I think I remember a scene from The Incredible Hulk where Bruce couldn't have sex because of his heart rate reaching a certain threshold, and that would make him transform. I think, hold up.
Wait, we can't do this.
For a man who's supposed to be avoiding stress, you picked a hell of a place to settle.
There's no future with me. I can't have this. Kids, do the math, I physically can't.
What? Are you fucking shoving a chainsaw up my ass right now? Stress is the main trigger for the change, and you're telling me that this show has just boiled it down to anger? Am I on drugs right now? Is this actually real? Wow, that makes this scene even more stupid, because Bruce should have warned her that, hey, dipshit, it doesn't matter if you just control your anger. Any amount of stress could trigger an unwanted transformation, like anxiety, fear, sadness, horniness, and the entire spectrum of other emotions. However, while the clips that we've seen so far makes Bruce look stupid, this clip is a damn near bastardization of his character.
I did your dialectical behavior therapy. I can change back and forth, and I'm happy to now get back to my life.
And I know you didn't ask for this, but whether you like it or not, you're now a superhero. And who's gonna protect the world if it isn't people like us?
Are you quoting a comic book right now?
He's stupid.
Why does Bruce want Jen to become a hero? He, of all people, should know the pain that comes with being a Hulk, the isolation, the fear, the way you're seen as a monster. Bruce has been through it all, so why the fuck is he pushing so hard for her to be a hero? The point of this training should be to teach Jen how to control her abilities, so she will never need to transform, not so she can become an Avenger. Since Avengers Endgame, Bruce Banner's character has become more and more damaged, whether it be from inconsistencies or just plain stupid writing. He's not too far gone yet, but at this rate, this character may turn into an abomination of what we used to know. God, with a pilot episode this bad, the rest of the show must be a travesty, right? Well, actually, episodes 2 through 7 are just boring at best. The show is technically a comedy, so several episodes don't exactly have any long-term consequences. Except for episode 8. This is where DareDevil is properly reintroduced to the MCU, full suit and all, and I would love to sit here and tell you all that they ruined Daredevil, or hell yeah, Daredevil is back. However, I have never actually seen past the first season of Netflix Daredevil. Yes, I know, but I can't exactly discuss something I have no clue about. Who do you think I am, the writers for She-Hulk? However, while I can't discuss Matt Murdock as a whole, what I can talk about is this line that makes me want to run into oncoming traffic.
The very nature of Mr. Jacobson's line of work, making suits exclusively for superheroes, necessitates anonymity. May I remind you that the Sakovia courts have been repealed.
The Sakovia courts are repealed. The Sakovia courts are repealed. The same legislation that is supposed to try and prevent situations of heroes causing significant collateral damage like this, and this, on top of preventing vigilantes from working unchecked, which led to a kidnapping in this show, is repealed. The same document that put a wedge between Tony and Steve, leading to the Avengers to split up, which made it easier for Thanos to come in and collect the Infinity Stones, leading to the death of half the universe for 5 years, and the permanent death of Heimdall, Loki, Vision, Natasha, and Tony Stark, was repealed off screen. This is a dream, right? This has to be a fever dream. You're telling me that nobody thought this was a bad idea? Nobody. People actually thought this, wrote it down, printed it out, filmed it, edited it, and released it without anyone saying, hey, maybe, just maybe this idea should be explored rather than just a throwaway line? Make the entire show about it. Have it be Jen fighting to repeal the Sakovia Accords to prevent the world's heroes from being fractured like how they were during Infinity War. This sole document has been indirectly responsible for so many world-changing moments in the MCU, so it deserves to be properly addressed. To be honest, I don't care what you do, but it has to be something beyond this.
May I remind you that the Sakovia courts have been repealed.
No! Fuck! Shit! Well, at least we're now on the penultimate episode, and despite what you may be led to believe, there's actually an overarching story in the show. Basically, there's a secret group that wants to obtain She-Hulk's blood, and we find out that they run a website called Intelligencia that is dedicated to wishing death upon the female Jolly Green Giant. We learn that one of their members was actually a previous hookup of Jen's, who stole data from her phone to publicly shame her. So these guys are the closest things we get to an antagonist for the season. And funnily enough, in this show that calls itself a comedy, misses every opportunity to make fun of them. For context, from the jump, it's painfully obvious that Intelligencia is just this world's version of Reddit. Like, actually, everything from the page layout to the posts to even the subcategories are all taken from Reddit. On top of that, it's clear that the members are supposed to be stand-ins for people who have been critical of the MCU as of late. In other words, people like me. Now, I am a man of culture who believes in the age-old philosophy of talk shit, get hit. I've made jokes at the expense of many writers throughout my time making videos, and I do believe it's my turn to be made fun of as a result. I mean, come on, look at me. I'm a 23-year-old man yelling out my opinions onto the internet without wearing any pants. I mean, there's a lot to be made fun of here. But for some reason, the show doesn't take that route. No, they actually take a U-turn into an orphanage, as they expect the audience to take this group seriously. Yeah, the writers genuinely want us to see these people as actual threats, as every time they do something, the serious music comes in, no jokes are made. It's insulting, to say the least. What makes this worse is that it's kind of an insight on how the writers and possibly Marvel as a whole see these critics as people getting mad for no reason, wishing bad, and sending death threats to the actors and actresses that betray these characters. Which, firstly, no. I think the vast majority of people that have a problem with the direction of the MCU are upset more with the writing and the world building and don't have any hatred towards the people that play these characters. And if you do have legitimate hatred to where you actually send death threats, just fuck off. The problem is that even though these people make up a small fraction of a percentage of critics, Marvel is putting a spotlight on them as if they were the majority. But by putting every critic under this hateful umbrella, it leads to actual criticism being ignored in favor of the points that Intelligencia spews in the show. I mean, just listen to the points these dickheads come up with.
Why does there even need to be a She-Hulk? It's not like there's a He-Hulk.
We do. He's called the Hulk.
See, I didn't just get handed superpowers. I had to earn them.
Okay, normally when people are talking about a character not earning their power, it more has to do with having little to no training while still being extremely powerful, rather than just not deserving it. Look at Rey from The Force Awakens, a character who's extremely powerful from the start and is able to hold her own against Kylo Ren without any training. The problem isn't the power, rather using said power competently despite not having any proper knowledge.
Here's where I'm at. Superpowers should go to the best person suited for the job, right?
Exactly.
I have never heard this argument before in my life in regards to superhero media. This is the definition of a straw man. And you know what? This wouldn't be a problem if the show didn't ask us to take Intelligencia seriously. Having them as joke villains would work, considering that the show wants to mainly be focused on Jen and her internal conflict. But instead, what could have been some fun jabs the writers throw back at their critics is just further proof of how unaware Marvel is with their current problems. Especially once you see how they handle the finale.
This isn't messy enough?
For context, after the audience learns that Intelligencia wants She-Hulk's blood, and we see Jen Hulk out after her sex tapes leaked, she's arrested going into the final episode. Now, while these stakes aren't on the same scale as something like Infinity War, they are suitable for the scale of the show. On top of that, after Jen gets arrested, she accepts a plea deal to avoid jail time. That deal being that she will never transform into She-Hulk again. This adds some conflict for Jen, as she has to come to terms with the reality that no matter how much good she does, all it takes is one slip up to be seen as a monster. This is actually a great place to take the story, as it connects to when Jen first got her powers but shrugged off Bruce when he tried to train her. There is surprisingly a lot of room for growth here. So how do the writers f it up? Well, we learned that the leader of Intelligencia, the same person that the show has shown can hire a crew of hitmen and a team of scientists, is one of Jen's failed Tinder dates.
Wakanda forever!
Sure, let's go with that. Plus, it's revealed that this group has finally obtained She-Hulk's blood, and because they believe that Jen didn't deserve her powers, they want to use it to turn their leader into a Hulk. Now, while this concept is boring as sin, it doesn't destroy the stakes. However, what happens next is so catastrophically dumb, I'm convinced that Caveman could have came up with a better outcome. So, Everything is revealed to Jen. White Wakanda has transformed. Titania, an antagonist from earlier in the season, is here. Bruce Banner appears out of nowhere to fight the Abomination. By the way, he's in the show. It's absolute pandemonium. And Jen has had enough. So she breaks the fourth wall so hard that she literally escapes the show to go into the writing room and scold them before talking to Kevin Feige, who is actually an AI bot. What? I fuck you not. A team of people who get paid by Disney wrote, revised, approved, filmed, edited, and released this without realizing it's a stupid fucking idea. For those of you who are smarter than me and chose not to watch this show, let me explain. You see, She-Hulk doesn't just have the powers of the Hulk, but also the ability to break the fourth wall. For context, the fourth wall is what separates the audience from the show they're watching. Here, let me show you. Imagine the fourth wall being like a divider that separates these two worlds. Breaking the fourth wall is when the show becomes self-aware that's being watched by an audience. Now, throughout the show, She-Hulk will occasionally talk to the audience, which is fine, can lead to some comedic moments, and doesn't take away from the story. However, when you break the wall so severely that it's considered a violation of the Geneva Conventions is where I draw the line. Because Jen ends up talking to AI Kevin Feige and convincing him to remove everything that just happened in the finale.
Erasing blood plot. But Bruce is supposed to return to explain what he was doing
No, we don't need to hear any of that.
But recalculating. And Abomination?
I just want him to hold himself accountable.
Okay.
Well, Gio, are you trying to tell me you wanted to keep everything that came out of nowhere before Jen fixed it? No, but that is a deception that is happening here. The writers include these ludicrous additions to the finale, so once they press that big reset button, the audience will be like, of course they would do that. Why would we want to see a finale go that off the rails? Not realizing that this actually removes the stakes that you had going into the final episode.
It distracts from the story, which is that my life fell apart right when I was learning to be both Jen and She-Hulk. Those are my stakes, Kevin.
Yes, the stakes should be about Jen accepting her role as She-Hulk and how just when she was getting there, those powers were taken away. But this blood plot that you see as so unnecessary was the catalyst that created these stakes in the first place. Okay, you know what? Fine. Let's do that. No more blood plot. Now what are we left with in the finale? We have two side characters figuring out who the leader of Intelligencia is, and Jen just stumbling on this reveal by pure luck. Yeah, that is definitely a more satisfying conclusion. Oh, actually, maybe the finale could be a court case, considering
it is a legal comedy.
But sorry, we actually don't have time for that. So instead, we get the case mentioned and then cut to black. Because why would we want to see a full court case on a show called She-Hulk Attorney at Law? This waste of oxygen of a fourth wall break actually also contradicts the show's own philosophy on what She-Hulk should be about. Think about it. This episode makes a huge deal about Jen having this big moment where she loses her powers just as she was starting to find the balance. But we don't get to see Jen process all this and actually go through some development. Yeah, she sulks for a bit, but she just takes a mental health day, abuses the fourth wall, and then voila, she's just allowed to turn into She-Hulk again, even though many people would still see her as a danger. Great job. Great job, She-Hulk. You managed to make a finale that was not only boring, not only did it not wrap up any character arc in a satisfying way, but you also, by some divine intervention, managed not to have no stakes, but negative stakes. How the fuck do you even do that? But Gio, it's a self-proclaimed comedy. Why don't you just enjoy yourself and not take the show too seriously? Because, man, attitudes like that are what give these writers an excuse to treat us like children with no cognitive function. Yes, comedies often take things to an extreme. However, this story still takes place within the MCU, so comedy or not, it needs to respect the rules of this universe. Look at the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Both are filled with comedic moments while still managing to respect the prior world building done in the cinematic universe. Granted, it was easier for Guardians to do that considering their story takes place in space, but even if I give She-Hulk the biggest benefit of the doubt possible to be given, the show still f***s the world building of the MCU so hard, I should probably call the cops for assault and battery. She-Hulk Attorney at Law's finale is what happens when you have creatively given up. A lot of people believe that creativity comes from freedom, but most of the time, that is not the case. Creativity goes hand in hand with problem solving, and often when restrictions and rules are firm, it forces more creative solutions. Now, obviously you shouldn't go overboard with restrictions that you put on your creative team, but the rules of the universe should be set in stone. Marvel's Phase 4 has been nothing but taking every chance possible to destroy those rules, and She-Hulk is just one of the most recent examples of it. Their finale was the visual example of fuck you, we can do what we want. And as an audience member, it makes me feel stupid. Why should I give a damn about Jen's conclusion to her story if the writers clearly don't give a fuck? They say they do. They literally say they do in the show. But their actions, like having the majority of the finale take place outside the fourth wall, says otherwise. This is a certified mess. And that, Your Honor, is why She-Hulk Attorney at Law is guilty of being f***ing dog shit and should be sentenced to a life of mediocrity before being quickly forgotten as the next Marvel product is released. The prosecution rests.
Who's this asshole?
What do you guys think of She-Hulk? Do you guys like it? Do you guys hate it? Do you guys think we should sue Marvel for putting us through that travesty? Let me know all down there in the comment section down below. As the year comes to a close, I'm going to be obviously having the Flash video out next. However, I do want to try and get another special video out before the end of December. I can't make any promises, but I will be trying my damnness to get it out before December ends. I will say this though, those last two videos are going to be a culmination of everything I have learned throughout this year of making videos. Anyway, I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. Guys liked it and you're new to the channel, hit that like and the subscribe button. Also, did the channel potential, hit those same buttons and turn on the notification bell so you're always notified when I release new content and it helps with algorithm stuff. Anyway, my name is G.I.Gio and I'll talk to you all later. Peace. Everyone's sleeping. I gotta be quiet this time. Peace.